Hey, I'm Dr. Jenn, and I want to welcome you to In the Den with Dr. Jenn. What are we talking about today? Tantra. What is it, and is it different for women and men? Who has post-sex depression? And a sex position of the day not to miss. Tantra! What comes to mind when you hear the word? Hopefully after today's Den Chat, you will be much clearer on this topic. Our guest today is Sean Roop, who has been a student and teacher of life wisdom since 1989. I love the way you describe that. He's the author of Pathways to Love, 28 Days to Self-Love, is a master practitioner of NLP, a certified tantric therapist, and certified master tantric counselor. He is a teacher of teachers and has presented hundreds of offerings worldwide. In San Diego, Sean is the founder of Tantra Quest, a tantric training center, and has been featured in the media sources such as NBC, Fox, E!, the Travel Channel, and Playboy Radio. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay, so let's start in the first place. Since you were a teacher of Tantra, what do you think are the main misconceptions out there around it?
You know, it's sex.
Okay.
that Tantra is nothing more than a bunch of sexual teachings. And so what happens is that, that the West has taken Tantra as a system, as this ancient system from India way back when, and really kind of squeezed it into a tiny little box. And what's happened is that for a lot of people it's become kind of like New Age sex.
Ah, okay. And so, I mean, is it just in the first place we're going to have misconceptions about it no matter what because we have so many misconceptions about sex in the first place?
I think what happens is it's a reaction to what's going on in our society. So basically is that there's not a lot of teachings around healthy sexuality, let alone spiritual sexuality. So when people have the opportunity to learn something, then of course they're going to be like a moth to the flame and they're going to find it.
Right.
And Tantra seems to be that thing. And then there's also been a big marketing push to kind of push sex as that. Now the thing is that Tantra does have a great level of sexual teachings, but it's more about redefining what we think of sex.
Right.
You know, it's going to something larger.
Right. And I know, for a lot of folks, they keep their spiritual life and their religious life separate from their sex, or they think they keep them compartmentalized. And I know, part of your teachings, a large part of your teaching is that sex is part of the spiritual journey and pathway. So how could you explain that for us more?
Well, just to start from, to me, the definition of Tantra, and by the way, the literal definition of Tantra means to weave or loom. But the way I put it together is that it's a merging of earth and heaven together, or body and spirit together. So it's a marriage between the body and the spirit. So Tantra doesn't deny sex as a part of the full existence here, nor does it say praying and being involved with your spiritual life means anything like that. That has to be separated from that either. So I find that it's so interesting when people have this great divide and separation, yet if you talk to people, usually when they're having sex, they're going, "Oh God! Oh God!" as if God's not going to listen when you call him.
Right? So why? Why do you think we have such a separation between our sexuality and spirituality? It's hard. I was wondering if you have any insights.
Of course I do.
Yeah.
The hard part is saying it, just because it's such a bummer. But the bummer is that it's empowerment. It's just truly about empowerment. So there's been a conceded effort in our society, from what I've been seeing, to actually separate people from their own personal empowerment, especially around sexuality being the first one. You take people's sexuality away, and you've chunked out a big piece of their creativity, their emotionality, and their sexuality.
Okay, so is it accurate to say then what you're saying is that that idea that, I mean, sex is a part of our power, it's a part of our vitality, it's a part of our joy, it's a part of us living, as critical thinkers and living the best lives that we can. And is that accurate from what you're saying?
Yes, what it does is it actually, so a lot of Buddhist texts talk about this no-minded meditation, right? Well, Tantra says the best no-minded meditation there is in high levels of states of ecstasy. So to reach high levels of your ecstatic state of sexuality and stay there and ride the wave is to actually lose the mind and to receive the blessings or the grace of the heavens or the spirit of source, like whatever that means to someone.
Right.
And the cool thing is, it doesn't matter what the religion is. Tantra still says, okay, you know, take whatever religion you want. It doesn't matter. The characters don't matter. So it allows for so much freedom for people to experience.
That's something, you just said something that made me think of like Buddhism and Tantra in that way. They're not contradictory to any religious beliefs out there. And I think that's important for people to know.
Yes.
That's a great point.
Yes. And so is Tantra religion? Yes. Is it a science? Yes. Is it a philosophy? Yes. And that's the confusing piece to it. And that adds to the confusion. Because a lot of people will come, well, I want to learn about Tantra, and then they get there and they're expecting to learn this whole Sting and Trudy business about having sex for 8 hours. And when you're talking about really deepening in and finding your core center so that you can really thrive with your sexual energy from that place, they're like, huh? I thought we were just going to learn a technique and, and a tool. And so that's, you know, and I'm wrestling with that even this week. There's the class that I'm teaching, it's an advanced class, and inside my own mind, it's the fear of like, wow, you know, people just really want the body-centered stuff, but there's a larger piece that will take people to their body. People are already in their body. What's keeping them from their body? That's where I'm interested in as a sociologist. That's awesome. You know, you know, I get it. So it's like, okay, what's in the way? Not how to do something, but what's in the way from already being our true natural state.
So the idea that we're already there, we just need to get what's out of the way.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, so my final question for you, what do you think, what are the differences for women and men?
Okay, so there's these things called the chakras, and they're these energy centers. And inside, we all have 7 of them. And the first one is all about safety and security and survival. The second one is about sexuality and emotionality. And this kind of stuff. And then we go up into creativity. And then the 3rd chakra is about self-esteem. The 4th chakra is about connection. 5th is about communication. Intuition is the 6th. And the 7th is about spirit. Well, the thing is that most people are moving from a place of that we all start at the same place. We all start at the 1st chakra and we move our life upward to reach towards spirit. But Tantra says another thing. It actually says that that's the path for men. The path for women is to go down. And so here's the deal. If we think about sex in that context, sexuality is in the 2nd chakra. All men have to do to have sex is basically trust. I'm good. I'm not going to get killed, and I trust this person, so I can have sex.
And they're like,
I'm ready to go.
Right.
But women, on the other hand, they have to have a spiritual sense of this relationship. They have to have an intuitive sense about it. They have to be able to communicate about it, have to feel the connection and be known in themselves, and then their sexuality blossoms and flows. But here's something that's going on in our society. It's an issue. Is that a lot of women are sticking right here, which is in their potential. I see the potential of this man. You can't see it. I can. And I know what I'll do. Even though he's not meeting me in the highest realms that I want to play in, I'll open my legs and I'll accept the sexuality, and my body will be so amazing and our orgasm will be so huge that I'll pull him up to his heart. But the problem is most men ejaculate. And when they ejaculate, they go right back down to the 1st chakra and they don't reach past the sexual center. And so what I just basically explained for a lot of people, like mostly when I tell people that, they're like, yeah, wow.
It makes so much sense.
Especially to women.
Yeah, exactly. I know, I want to be like, bye.
Yeah. So anyway, Tantra is a matriarchal system. It's goddess-based. So it really expresses how to increase feminine sexuality and empowerment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so
You're
much.
so welcome.
In a very short amount of time, you just shared a lot with us. Can we give a round of applause? If you want to learn more about Sean and to be able to work with him or find his new book, Pathways to Love, 28 Days to Self-Love, you can visit him at tantraquest.com. Our sexual fun fact, and a pack of lube to anybody in the audience that gets it right. No cheating, looking at the teleprompter. The question, according to a new Australian study, what percentage of women regularly experience post-sex depression, or what's officially called post-coital dysphoria?
100.
What's that?
100.
No, thank goodness it's not 100. Way lower, gratefully.
20%.
10%. Hey, you turn around and look to me. No? Yeah, you got a pack of lube anyway. Yes, 10% regularly experience this post-sex depression. And it's not necessarily because it's bad sex. Around 1/3 of the women experience that after sex that was even satisfactory. Now, this is college-aged women that they studied, which I think could skew the results, but nonetheless, more clinicians have been noticing this. What causes it? Yeah?
Not being satisfied.
No, actually,
Oh.
that is some of it, but not as much as they thought, right? They thought it would be more than that. They think physiologically, it could be a shift in hormones. Some women get headaches after sex. It could be the same thing. Socially, it could be relationship unhappiness, or sort of buyer's remorse. And emotionally, it may be connected to guilt or shame that women learn to connect to sex or how they feel about their body image. Sex position of the day. According to the Position of the Day playbook, what is the found a penny sex position? Well, I was a bit confused myself, so I asked my 6-year-old second cousin twice removed for her rendition of what found a penny might look like. Yes, okay. It's kind of a big penny. I see that size does matter to her. Okay. All right, so I'm not really sure that clarifies the sexual component of that. So let's see what the actual picture is. Oh. I like that. You can she's kind of like bopping along, and suddenly she's like, oh, shiny penny. I'm not sure it's a sign that the sex is that good. All right, in conclusion, I want to thank you, our live audience, for being here to talk about sex. And a special thanks to Sean Roop for his expertise in Tantra and life wisdom. So you can find me online at DrJennsDen.com, on Facebook and Twitter at DrJennsDen. And if you want to work with me with some one-on-one counseling, please let me know. We can do that in person or via Skype. So don't miss the funny or outrageous outtakes after the credits. And as always, be kind to yourself.
It does deal with the deeper sense of like there is a divine masculine and a divine feminine, and that they are popped outside of us, and it's about pulling them together and letting them make love inside of us.
Giggity, 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 let's have sex.